Hi, in today's episode, I'm joined by Ann Stanley from Anicca Digital, and we'll be talking all about AI and how e-commerce businesses can use AI to improve efficiency, productivity, and profitability within their business. Let's jump in.
Welcome to the latest episode of Amazon Profitability Problem Solved podcast. I'm your host, Emma Bagley, and today I am interviewing Ann Stanley from Anicca. Ann, would you like to introduce yourself more formally?
Hello, Emma. Yes, I'd love to do that. Thank you very much for inviting me, first of all. So my name is Ann Stanley. I'm the founder and CTO of Anicca Digital, which actually celebrated its 19th birthday last week, which is quite surprising for an independent digital marketing agency. But for my sins, I have also got a separate company called Anicca Insights, which is our AI division. So you can see I take this AI stuff quite seriously, and we've got a separate company that does that as well.
Thank you. And that's going to be the focus of this podcast. It's all about AI and e-commerce. So not just Amazon now, it's for e-com brands who are interested in this whole huge topic that we could probably talk about for weeks and months, AI. Question number one, then, where are you seeing AI make the biggest commercial impact in e-commerce today, not just saving time, but genuinely increasing profitability?
I've been looking into how AI can help marketing for over 4 years. And of course, 3 and a bit years ago, ChatGPT came along, which changed everything. So I would suggest that the most common use of AI, particularly from marketers and e-commerce managers and e-commerce marketers, is in content creation. That's because the tech side of AI was very strong very quickly. And so a lot of people use ChatGPT. A few of them, maybe less than 20%, have now gone on to Claude. And they could have even been creating things like a custom GPT or a Claude project, which was specific to their brand guidelines. So that's been the biggest impact. The image side of things has only really started to take hold since Nano Banana came out a couple of months ago. So the image quality for product imagery is quite recent. And then an area we've been talking about for over a year is voice agents for e-commerce. And that's really difficult technically to do. So there's a lot less AI voice agents for doing customer service and back-end efficiency. So I would say at the moment, it's the easiest stuff that's being automated, and the more difficult stuff is the stuff that's there's a lot of potential for.
Would you mind sharing obviously not naming any brands in particular, unless you can, that have used AI agents, so how you've worked with them to build successful AI agents and how that's impacted their business?
Yeah, I mean, the company that we've been working with now for 3 years on use of AI is Charles Bentley, and I am allowed to talk about it because they're our longest running clients over 14 years, and we do a lot of stuff with them. So we started building stuff with them a couple of years ago, where we first had access to the ChatGPT API. And James Allen is one of our technical guys. He built a spreadsheet that would fire off basically very skinny, thin product descriptions, and one by one sent them to the API with this complicated prompt in the spreadsheet, and then got back better quality product description. So that was sort of version 1, if you want to call it that. Then we were playing around with a custom GPT. So we could do things like custom content calendars and bespoke content calendars and try and improve the prompt. And then more recently, we've built that out into a full automated workflow using an automation software, which I'm going to pronounce, which is called N8N. It will probably come out as Nan on the transcription because nobody seems to be able to get it. And that actually is fully linked with APIs, and it's even to the point now where if we wanted to, we could inject it straight into Magento, and you've got different prompts for each category. So that's the sort of third level when you're starting to talk about AI agents that, you literally have a drive sheet, or you grab it from Magento and it goes all the way back through your process and then sticks it back in at the other end. So that's the really exciting stuff that we're building.
And your new company that you've established, will that be like, could e-commerce brands get in touch with you today to help them?
There's several things that we've found people are interested in doing. First of all, there's automation of general day-to-day tasks. And we've actually built a website called, it's basically an AI agent marketplace. We've called it secretagents.ai. There's a hyphen dash in the middle. And the reason that we've done that is because if you just want a little bit of key phrase research, or you want to create a customer persona, or you just want to create some meeting notes or a job description, it just does about 25 individual tasks. And we built that so people can use it. And I think you get somewhere between 5 and 10 free goes a day. So before you have to subscribe. So that's really easy to use. And then the next level up is what I call sort of more personal agents, where it's all about logging in to your credentials. So if you're running something and you want to email the results to a colleague, then it needs to be linked to your email address. Or if you're running it from your Magento, you need to log into your Magento. Or if you're using Slack or Teams to send it a message, or Drive spreadsheet to actually run the commands or to review the processes, you have to be logged in. And that's where you're talking about, a common name is called an AI employee, but it's more like a departmental agent. It will do a job for you, and you just have a sort of an input in the middle, a review of your review, and then an output at the end. So that's the sort of more bespoke part of the stuff that we're building for people, like the one for Charles Bentley, which we've done for Home and Garden, but we've done something similar for Skintique around cosmetics. So you need to make that unique to the company. And then the next level up is something that sort of drives the system in the background. So we've got a blog that we produce once a week that scrapes 20 sites. It automatically creates the blog. It then creates the image that matches the blog, and then it loads it up on WordPress. And then from there, I've got a separate workflow that can create a carousel. So you can see that's more autonomous and runs in the background and doesn't need to impact. You can just do that generally.
That's amazing. I need one of those in my life, for not just work, but for home as well.
That's saving a lot of time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Kind of answers question number 2. Thank you.
I have got another one that I probably should talk to you about, which is the voice agent. So the voice agent, we've got one ourselves. So if you call a certain number on the Anicca line, it will talk to you and answer all your questions. It can also take a message and we get an email, but it can also book an appointment. So that's really good if you're a B2B business or you've got meetings with people. You can actually get it to check your diary and book an appointment. So that's a sort of mid-level sophisticated voice agent, and we trained it to be really interactive. And what you do is you give it a knowledge base with all the information about the company, so that can answer lots of questions. The difference when you elevate that to an e-commerce website is that you've got to start having API access in. So you've got to be able to, your Wizmos, where's your order? You need to get access to the courier, or you need to see the live stock levels. So it starts to have access to either your PIM or your e-commerce database. Now that is much, much more difficult to build. And although we've got something I think it's actually live now, it's taken a lot longer because you have to train it in the way it answers questions. You have to give it loads of knowledge, your SOPs, has to integrate with Freshdesk or Zendesk. So that's been a much more ambitious project. And what I've noticed is most companies don't want the risk of spending 15, 20K to build that. So what we've been doing is converting those projects into more like a subscription basis, because then it's not such a barrier to entry for companies. So I think that's a really important part of what will happen over the next 2 years and can give you a big USP. But it's a bit like building a website. It's quite a lot of work to do that. So it's not the sort of thing that you'll do if you're really tiny, but for the bigger brands, it's definitely something that they could consider.
And if a brand wants to get in touch with you, would you be able to would you audit? Because I can imagine some e-commerce owners, brand owners, they don't know what AI can do. So it's kind of sitting with them and understanding their whole business processes and what they want to achieve. So do you do that pre-audit stage and then shaping what needs to be done?
Exactly. So one of the things about absorbing a lot of the AI processes internally within Anicca. Also, as an e-commerce consultant for the last 20 years, and Darren, who's my MD, who's an operations director, we tend to do these discovery pieces together because sometimes it's not the e-commerce marketing that actually is your biggest bottleneck. So what we consider is the AI service needs to be about how we can grow your business. So it's a growth engine. And that could be simple things like processing your orders. Or we were talking to another client that has literally thousands and thousands of books, and they need those books classifying and new product descriptions created. But then they're probably going to want that for Amazon as well. So sometimes the way that you review a project and talk to a client is you don't really talk about AI. What you do is you talk about their business and their processes and the things that are keeping them up at night, the things that are bottlenecks, the things that are very repetitious, where you're wasting a lot of time doing things that actually AI can take over. And the way that we approach that project is we tend to work in like little teams where we really try and understand each of the elements of the process. We've got quite an extensive questionnaire, and then we can then score things. So what's the easy wins and what's going to give you the best benefit? And the benefit could be a time saving, a cost saving, or a significant gain. And the gain could be because you could just produce something much better, or it could be that you sit on 400 new products every month that you never got on time, and you're just wasting sales, because if you got them on your website, you could sell them. So it's more really taking a process and a sort of strategic or holistic company-wide view, and then working out what the best options are, because sometimes things need automation rather than an AI. So sometimes it's simple things like the way their back office is running, would actually a decent CRM system with some automation and a form and would do the job, rather than it necessarily being an AI problem to solve. So, or AI being the solution rather. So definitely that discovery process, we've got a couple of ways we can do it. For your clients, they get it for free. So if we're doing a digital marketing project, they get it anyway. But for prospects that are interested in, we can either do it as a sort of like a one-off project, which they then keep the report and they can go anywhere with it. But if they decide they want to do work with us, there is an option where they basically get credited. So we do the discovery piece, and then that's knocked off the price of the project. So that's another option as well. So there's various ways of approaching that discovery piece, but it is a very important part of what we do. And to make that easier, I've actually created a framework called the C10 framework, which covers things like channels, connections, comms, company, content, and that's the structure we follow, so that it makes that process much more systematic.
That all sounds absolutely incredible. And we're talking about profitability, on this show. I imagine there's, high upfront cost, but the long-term cost savings and time savings, which are the costs, but will be so significant. It's what every company should be doing right now, isn't it, Anne?
We started really going to market with this a year ago, and what happened was lots of excitement, and then everybody took it back, and nobody'd got a budget for it, and nobody'd really thought about it. So the initial investment has been very much on where it's costing people a lot of money, and they want to save money. So this is why, if you're already spending a fortune outsourcing product descriptions every month, it's a very easy win to bring it in-house, and you've got a tool that does it for you. So that's a no-brainer. The sorts of projects that since Christmas, there's been quite a big change of attitude. I think everybody's been told, go away and do the AI thing, find out what you need to do. And there's definitely been a change of mindset about actually, well, this isn't just a cost-saving exercise. It's now an investment, and what do I need to be competitive, which is something we'll come back onto, what's going to happen in the future with things like AI overviews and ChatGPT going and searching for products. There's some big changes happening. So there's definitely been a different mindset. So the sorts of projects that people are talking about now are much more strategic. But because of that price sensitivity about, I don't want to spend 15K on building a product engine to, create 1,000, I might as well just employ somebody. We're just trying to make it more digestible and offer the projects more on a subscription basis, which is the way that I think it will go going forward. I think a lot of the things that marketing agencies have done in the past will be productized, and then what you'll do is you'll use very expensive, that's not the right word, you'll use very premium agencies that have got a lot of data knowledge and a lot of technical knowledge, people like you and me that absolutely know their stuff. And then the stuff that can be easily automated, then you'll have a subscription to do that. So I think it will make a massive difference to the way agencies and brands work together going forward. And therefore there'll be more of a consultancy strategy piece, and you'll go to the agencies that can get you that. And then for the day-to-day stuff, I think AI agents will end up doing a lot of the job.
It's really interesting what you said about the January timescale as well, and how people are, I wonder what's kind of like triggered that. In my world, we're talking constantly about profit margins and squeezing of profit margins. I wonder if they've kind of just had that wake-up call that they can't just keep squeezing their ad agencies, for example, to get better, ACOS. It's kind of like more fundamental than that now to increase that profitability long-term, sustainably.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the point where actually you can't buy the traffic any cheaper anymore, or you can't get any more traffic, or you've got to start paying a lot more for the traffic that you're getting. And so the TACOS starts to increase. And also because of the way that the AI overviews and ChatGPT and the attribution is so complicated, with a lot of journeys starting in social media or display, which can't be tracked, you're going to have to start looking at all of this from a point of view, well, this is my total spend on paid media. I get all this extra stuff from returning visitors, from organic SEO, from direct traffic. I've got to look at it as a TACOS rather than an advertising cost to spend, or ROAS, whichever way you review it. I've got to see what else I can do in the business. So what we're basically saying is as an e-commerce growth consultancy, which is how we position ourselves now, well, what else can you do? Can you buy the product cheaper? Can you be found in other channels? Can you improve your client services? Can you improve the CRO of your website by vibe coding different landing pages? What other things can you do? Because at the end of the day, you aren't going to be able to grab any more traffic at a cost that's affordable. How else can I make more money? And it might not be a marketing job. It might be a completely different team like client services, and improving what you do there, so you get better reviews and testimonials, etc. So we're looking at it much more at a C-suite level than we are at a sort of marketing manager level than we have ever done before, because it's so competitive and things are changing so fast.
Yeah, it certainly is. Thank you very much. So AI search then. As AI search becomes more dominant, how do you see the role of Google and traditional SEO changing for e-commerce brands?
Okay, so I wrote a blog on this, but the content was basically stolen from Rand Fishkin. Most people will know from Moz, but now the CEO or CTO of SparkToro, and Datos, who do a lot of studies on things like zero click and what's happening with AI overviews and ChatGPT. So if you go to the Anicca website, it's on there. By the way, do you know what Anicca stands for? Because you said you thought it was Ann, didn't you?
Ann for Anicca, Anicca for Ann.
Yeah. Anicca is impermanence in Buddhism, which, believe it or not, is more applicable now than it was 20 years ago or 19 years ago when we started Anicca. But anyway, you can see how to spell it. It's, you've got the spelling there. So anicca.co.uk. There's a blog on status search which goes into a lot of this. Now, it is true that ChatGPT is sending a lot of traffic, because a lot of people, when they're on there, are doing comparison shopping, or they're interested. And I'll come on to some of the features of ChatGPT in a second. But if you look at it of the scale compared with Google, I think is something like 250 to 300 times more traffic coming from Google. So it's still more important at the moment to make sure you're found in AI overviews than it is to be found in ChatGPT. However, the growth is in things like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and some of the other things that they're doing, which we'll talk about next. So if everybody tells you, or your agency tells you, oh, you want to be found in ChatGPT, that's true, but it's still Google is the biggest driver. And please don't forget Google, because you'll do so at your peril. And so it's really important that you get found in Google. And the other thing, of course, is not only the AI overviews at the top, it's the fact they've got the AI mode as well, which is the first tab along the top, which eventually they think will become the norm. But we've got, the thing about e-commerce is at the moment, Google makes so much money for e-commerce performance max and shopping ads that will pretty much dominate the top, and then AI overviews and things are a little bit further down. But the scary thing about all of this is the click-through rates and the amount of traffic in organic is just dropping off like a cliff, and it's being pushed down. And, you could be number one, but you could still be 50% of the way down the page. So you might have a top 4 organic listing if you look at your ranking traffic, but you're still not getting any traffic from it and you're not making any sales. So the whole landscape is changing considerably. But the way that you're shown in AI overviews from a point of view of the way that the AI searches your data is very similar to ChatGPT and the others. So there's 2 points that we need to discuss. First of all, what you need to do differently in a answer engine optimization or generative engine optimization, a geo, or whatever you want to call it, what you need to do differently. And secondly, the other aspect of these AI searches or AI search and how they're showing shocking results. So I think I can do the first one quite quickly, but I think the second one is probably more of interest. So if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So
the way that AI processes data is similar in the sense that it's around themes of topics, but what it does is it ingests all the information and then it converts it into numbers, which then allows it to use an algorithm that basically predicts the next thing that's going to happen. So if I was saying, my cat's meowing at me, it's obviously hungry, I'm going to go and look online for, then you would say a pet shop or an online pet food, because predictively what the next word is going to be. And if I asked you what is an apple, you're going to think, well, is she talking about Apple the fruit, or is she talking about Apple the company? So there's lots of things around context. Now that's fundamentally how you get your results. But the thing that's different is that AI LLMs, large language models, such as ChatGPT, OpenAI, such as Gemini, Google, such as Claude, they have assimilated this information. It goes into something called the training data. And when it pulls data out, it pulls it in chunks. Now, those chunks, I think, are around 100 words. So if you've got a very long page, which you might have optimized for SEO, and you've got all this content, it can't really process it very well. So what you've got to start doing is looking at the way that you create your content for your product descriptions and your guides and your blogs, and make it into more digestible chunks so that it grabs part of the page rather than the whole page. So if you're talking about, I don't know, if I do Charles Bentley as an example, I'm talking about ideas for my spring refresh. I could have a section on garden furniture, and I could have a section on home and cleaning and spring cleaning. If that's longer than 100 words, then it's going to be spread across 2 chunks and it might not get the whole picture. So there's things around the format of how it works. Secondly, if you look at SEO word, we rely on links for citations. AI uses different sources. Reddit is often claimed to be the biggest, but interest in YouTube is really important. Wikipedia is really important. So we have to approach citations and link building in a different way. It's quite unsophisticated, but we need to look at different ways of getting mentioned. So there's a whole stuff around that you need to be aware of. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on all the elements of that, but there's 2 things about this. Is you've got the training data, which is usually about 6 months out of date. So you've got training data that's a little bit old. So you obviously need to get in the training data, and a lot of the tools allow you to find out if you're in it. But then it's got the ability to search the web. And what it will do is we think in a lot of cases it's actually using Google search data to decide that next stage. So you often see a high correlation between the stuff that does well in search and the stuff that does well in AI overviews and ChatGPT. But you can be absent in the top 10, but still do okay in AI search, because it does use different factors. So they are not an overlapping. There's not a one-to-one correlation between the two. So it is an opportunity for people. But if you need to understand, you need to measure it first and find out where you are being mentioned, find out which competitors are and see what they're doing in the same way we used to do SEO. We used to reverse engineer it. So I think that's probably as much as I can do now on how to understand how you get found. But I would say that if you're worried about it, the priority needs to be Google and AI overviews, probably followed by ChatGPT at the moment.
Okay, and so your Anicca Digital, if brands out there are really still totally confused about or getting conflicting advice from different agencies, can they come to you and talk to you about what needs to be done?
Yeah, we've got, we can provide you a 3 sort of offer audit of where you currently are found, which that's an offer we've got on at the moment. There's several really good webinars that we've done, including one with Dixon Jones, who's most of you will know from Majestic Times if you've been around the industry for a long time. He's got a product called Wake, which is what AI knows about you, which is what we use. So that's really useful. But there is something that forward thinking, and I'm not sure where it is in your list of questions, that we can't ignore. And that's how the deals that these platforms are doing to bring in shopping results actually within their platform, so you can shop within ChatGPT, within Perplexity, within Google. And we're calling it sort of AI commerce. And I think we need to talk a little bit about that, because one of the things that people haven't realized is that they get annoyed by the amount of bot traffic they get coming to their site, and they can easily block it. So you can use things like Cloudflare or other meccas of blocking the traffic. But now what's happening, if you block it, you're not getting mentioned. But also, if you go into ChatGPT and as if you're typing in a prompt or an instruction, there's a plus sign. And there's 2 things that you need to go and experiment with. One's called agent mode and one's called shopping mode.
Okay.
Now, agent mode is pretty amazing, because what it does, it opens a window and you tell it to go to Charles Bentley or Dunelm or whatever your e-commerce site, or your own site, of course, and you ask it to go and buy you a product. It will go and it will, on its own, it will click on the cookies, and it will literally, I can do it, no hands, and it will literally go and it will go to the site, it will do a search and it will find the product and it can add it into your basket. Now, if you've blocked the agents from coming to your site, you will not be included in that. And therefore you will not be discoverable, and bots will not be able to buy from your site. So in order to facilitate that, there's quite a lot of steps, and there's a whole load of new protocols that have come out from both Gemini, from Google, from ChatGPT. They've done deals with people like Etsy and Shopify to start bringing in shopping results in order to facilitate that buy-in process. So it's quite a complicated subject, because there's lots of different options and lots of different protocols, and they're all competing to get to the top. But basically, you've got to enable your shopping cart, whether it's Stripe or Visa or whatever, to be able to take payments from a bot. You've got to enable the ability for the bot to find you in the first place, and to make your site searchable and purchasable. And also you've got to make your site discoverable. I've worked backwards, you've noticed. So there's a lot of stuff on there.
A quick question then, just to intervene there. If you've got a crystal ball, when do you think this is going to become mainstream?
I do an AI in marketing blog every week, and the data shows that already this Christmas just gone, a lot of people were saying to their bots, go and buy me such and such. And the other mode in ChatGPT is a shopping comparison mode, where you can actually ask it, and they ask you questions. So it's like a prompted shopping discovery. So you don't have to go onto an e-commerce site. You can do everything from there. And that's the scary bit, because what we're worried about is that we're going to get to the point where there's no reason to go to your website anymore, because all the research and the discovery is going to happen within the chat, and actually you can purchase from there as well. And when you've got things like Comet, which is the Perplexity browser, and all these other things, and you've got a whole load of other technologies, that's the way it's going. So the technology's in place now. You can actually do it if you go and seek it out. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a big marketing spiel and awareness over the next year to get people to start using it. So I think by next Christmas, we're going to get some more significant numbers, because of course it's starting from a zero position. But you've got to remember, experiments like this have started and failed before. And also, most of these tech companies are out of the US, and they're absolutely petrified of more antitrust regulations from Europe. So Europe is behind the curve with regards to it launching all this technique. UK's in a bit of a funny position because we still adopt GDPR because we trade so much with Europe. They sort of see us as sort of almost like a gateway into Europe. So we do get some, but we don't get all of it. So AI modes has not been launched really properly in the UK because of that. And AI overviews was a year later than in the States. So we will be late to the party, but that just gives us more time to prepare and make sure that we're ready. But as I said, there's been promises like this. Can you remember everybody said, you can just buy everything through your smart speaker? I mean, how often do you buy things? It doesn't happen.
I personally don't.
So the UK public are quite slow, skeptic adopters of some of this technology. So I do think that the brands have got longer to get their act together. And in fact, I would say UK businesses generally are really slow at adopting AI. And there is a very distinct maturity curve with lots of individuals. I think I spoke to 4,000 people last year at Ecommerce Expo, IRX and stuff like that. And 80% of them are just using ChatGPT and not doing anything. So if you are ahead of the curve, this is a massive boost for you to get a USP and an advantage. But also it's a big defensive game because these tech bros, they're after your traffic in your site and you're going to end up having to pay a fortune. So for example, ChatGPT have launched ads, testing ads now live in the States.
In the UK?
No, not in the UK yet. They're testing them in the States. That was on this week's blog as well. And they've got a couple of brands, the American brands that are using it. But when I checked, when the team checked, I'm going to give them credit, they reckoned it was £60 CPM, which is like 3 times more expensive than Facebook. So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend a client to spend £60 CPM at the moment. But you just need to be aware that all this stuff is coming and it's moving very, very fast.
Wow.
I did warn you.
But my advice is go and talk to Anne. Contact Anicca and go and talk to Anne about anything to do with, there'll be listeners as well that are based in the US. So there will be kind of differences here in terms of the listeners.
Yeah, I'm hoping to talk in the US. I'm talking at Agency Hackers, which is an agency forum on a lot of this stuff in March. And we're probably going to be talking at Manchester at the B2B commerce show. I would normally talk at IRX in Birmingham, but they've moved it, which is really frustrating. So that's normally April, May. But I'm hoping to get over to the States to do more speaking slots. But the other thing is just tune into some of our webinars. And we do a 2-day AI training course where we cover some of this stuff as well once a month. So it's not really expensive. It's about $700 if you're in the States, sort of £500 in the UK. So we are trying to educate people as well. But it is moving so fast. I mean, it's a constant battle of trying to juggle between doing pitches for new clients and consultancy, and then keeping up to speed with all this stuff because it's a 9 till 12 o'clock at night job at the moment just to keep up with it all.
I think that's what a lot of brands are scared of. Like, it's the time investments and the monetary investment. It's quite overwhelming from the brands that I've talked to. So yeah, reach out to Anne and Anicca. So it kind of leads us into the quick fire round. But before we do that, is there anything that you think we've kind of missed and you want to talk about? This is the audience here is e-commerce, UK, US, AI and profitability. Is there anything you think we need to dwell more on?
Yeah, I think there's one thing that I wanted to mention. It's the concept of a human AI sandwich. And that's that in some tech companies, they've just fired all their staff and then they're rehiring them because they've realized they've screwed up. I don't believe AI on its own is as powerful as AI and human working together. So the idea is that you've got the human at the beginning of the process, or the bread in the sandwich, coming up with the ideas and learning how to prompt, which most people don't know how to do, and asking for the information. Then the AI does the job in the middle, and then the human has to interpret and make sure it's not hallucinating and work out how to use it. I mean, one of the reasons we created Secret Agents actually was because you can go in and ask it to do anything, but you don't need to know how to prompt because we use a form. So it's almost making you prompt correctly by asking you the right questions. And then behind the scenes, we've built the agent to do the job that gets you the best possible answer from your form. But I think what's going to happen going forward is this sort of co-workers, AI employee type agents that can do a particular job for a particular department, whether it's Sophie, the social media agent, or Emma, the email agent, or Anne, the analytics agent. You see where I'm going with this? It will still have a human control in it. So what I think will happen is, because of course humans have got a lot of knowledge, so we need to generate, we need to breed the next lot of AI marketeers and e-commerce managers. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a senior person who knows their stuff. I nearly swore there. And knows their stuff. And then you're going to have like an apprentice in the magicians or apprentice or whatever who they're teaching. And then they've got a whole load of AI agents that are doing the routine dog's body work or whatever you want to call it, which maybe they would have done in the past, but they're learning the strategy and stuff. So that's what I think is going to happen. But don't use this excuse just to get rid of all your staff, because you'll end up with no knowledge. And the thing about AI agents is you can spend a lot of time training them, but they don't know your customers as well as you do. They don't know your products. So it has to be a collaboration and a partnership. And if you can do that well, you can be incredibly productive. I can now produce content as if I had 2 people working for me full time, just because I'm using AI to do it. But if I didn't have the ideas and know what good looks like, I could produce a load of rubbish. So that to me is the key, is that if you only remember one thing, and that's a human AI sandwich, then that's very useful.
The human AI sandwich. That is going to make great social media headline. Thank you. Right, quick fire round then. So there is no right or wrong answer to these questions. So answer the question and then give your reason. Google ads are dead, true or false?
Oh, definitely not.
Covered that earlier, didn't we?
I've already explained that Google gets the majority of traffic and Google makes the majority of its money. So you can't escape shopping ads or PMAX Performance Max ads. I think the old text ads may be a little bit more limited. But yeah, for e-commerce, you're going to be very reliant on them for a long time. And even if they started to scale them out, they're only going to include them in more places elsewhere. So absolutely not.
Okay. First hire today, would it be an AI engineer or a performance marketer?
I've already got some very, very good performance marketers, and I haven't got enough resources on the AI engineers, but I don't really want an engineer that doesn't know anything about marketing. So in some respects, it's actually easier to train a performance marketer to become an engineer. I can't code. I've built loads of stuff without knowing how to code at all. So if you've got somebody that's quite analytical, probably got ADHD and very analytical, loves spreadsheets, you can probably train them to build all this stuff. So if you're already playing around with Google Scripts and you're good at reporting and Excel, you can easily be trained to build stuff yourself, especially if you come on one of our courses. So I would So I've flipped round, haven't I? So I would probably train somebody who's got a good performance marketing experience that wants to become an engineer.
Thank you.
Slightly different way of answering the question.
Most overhyped AI use case in e-commerce right now?
Oh, chatbots. So the chatbots that we've got at the moment, a lot of them are quite stupid. They've not been really trained very well. Having had to build a voice agent and then use exactly the same brain to create a chatbot, you need to be careful of the quality of the information that's providing. Also, loads of people do not like chatting to a chatbot. So actually having a voice equivalent of the chatbot or worked on the same brain, I think is better. So I think chatbots are overrated, and they're also sold at stupid prices in a lot of cases. Whereas you could have both a voice agent and a chatbot. And the chatbot, once you built the brain for the voice agent, it's using the same brain. It's just a different way of delivering the same question.
I'm one of those annoying customers. I just keep saying human. I want to speak to a human.
Well, that's because it's not very intelligent. The thing is if you ask AI Annie or Charles Bentley, and you ask a question, it actually can answer you and it can have an intelligent conversation with you in real time.
Yeah,
so it's not been programmed to say, if it says this, say that. That's old school.
I mean, most companies, I think, are still using those old school chatbots. Okay, there's a most underused AI opportunity that could increase profit today.
The easiest one is just get all your product descriptions and all your content and your creative hubs and your guides sorted, because that's going to help you with your SEO, but it also helps with Performance Max. People forget that the source of data for your shopping ads is still your website, because because it comes in through your feed. So anything you can do to increase the quality of the content on your website will have a triple benefit, because it'll get you found in organic search results, and it will also get you found in the organic shopping listings, which are really important, much more dominant than they were even a year ago. It will get you found in Performance Max. It will also improve usability and customer experience. So those three things together could probably double conversions by, I would think you get at least a 50% uplift just by doing that. So that would be the most logical thing to do. It does take a little bit of effort to set it up. You can do an individual one. If you go on Secret Agents, you can just do one and see what sort of quality you get out. The cost of doing that for us at the moment to build you a bespoke one is around £1,000 a month as an ongoing fee, including basically the setup of it. And then you will have some API and some other costs on top. But if you are building more than about 200 product descriptions, or you've got a backlog of more than 500, that is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck, I think.
Great answer, thank you. One thing e-commerce businesses are underestimating about AI.
How quickly it's changing, how much it's going to change everybody's life. I thought 3 years ago that agencies will be out of business within 4 years. That's only a year away. That's not going to happen because the UK market is so slow to take things up. But there's been some recent developments in the last month which has completely changed my life, which I'm not going to bore you with today. We can do another podcast on that, which is going to revolutionize it again. So the speed of change, the new stuff that's coming out, I think is as revolutionary as what ChatGPT came out. And you think how much that changed our lives. So the rate of speed is massive. At the moment, the people know what they're doing and the people that don't know what they're doing are quite close together. But the people that know what they're doing, that's going to accelerate really, really quickly. So you need to get in it now, because you'll get left behind much faster. And everything I'm doing now is built on, 12 months of solid work and 4 years of playing. And somebody said you're standing on the shoulders of giants, because what you're doing now is built on what you've already done. And if you start from now, you've not got that track history. So you need to build that expertise. You need to have an ambassador in your company that absolutely loves this stuff and is prepared to invest the time. But you can learn on what's gone before and fast track what other people have done. You don't have to relearn everything. You only need to learn what you need to know now and then go forward.
Yeah, a great advice. And so it's kind of, you're not left behind. If you start today, you are not behind. But start today. That's your advice.
Yeah, if you leave it any longer, you will be behind because things are moving so fast. And also some things take a while to set up. Even creating a bespoke content engine is a couple of months work because it has to be based on your content, what inputs you've got. Is it from your PIM? Is it from your website? What output do you want? We're going to try and productize it to speed up that process as much as possible. But that only happens when we've done, 10 or so. At the moment, every time we get into a new sector, you've got to build it from scratch. So there's quite a lot of learning involved, and your team needs to learn how to do it. And we need to understand what you're doing and if it's Magento or Shopify, or if you're using a different system, well, you have to build it again. There are some shortcuts. You can do everything through Drive. You can get the export from Drive, and then you can just upload it as a CSV. So you don't have to do the full fat version. You can do a slimmed down version and prototype it and see how that works. That's definitely a good way of approaching it. But yeah, don't leave it too late because you will get left behind, and then your notice drops in traffic. You've already got a problem with certain sectors that the traffic's going to TikTok anyway. So your reliance on Google is going to diminish very, very quickly. I'll share a scary fact with you, Emma. Back in April, May, we were tracking 50 agencies using SimilarWeb, and we noticed our traffic suddenly dropped. I thought, blimey, what's happened here? All of them lost 50% of their traffic in April, May, and most of them haven't recovered. And we think that was a combination of them launching AI overviews in the UK, but also .co.uk, google.co.uk was merged into .com. And most agencies suffered a massive drop. Even though search volumes for things like SEO agency was increasing, we all suffer from that. Now, if we can suffer a 50% drop in traffic, at some point, other people can too. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Panda and Penguin, where Google algorithms completely wiped out businesses. So you need to be aware that this can be, this can be an apocalypse for your business. So you need to make sure you've got diversity of channels, diversity of sources of traffic, rather than just relying on one or two. Because if something happens, it can have a big effect. That sounds really negative, doesn't it? I should finish on a high with something optimistic.
No, well, I've got one more question. I'm actually going to throw one more question in. So, advice. If you were running an e-commerce brand today and your profit depended on using AI well, what is the very first thing you would implement? I mean, we've touched a little bit on this on the product description, but I'm wanting a different answer.
Something else.
So, what is the very first thing you would implement?
I would do a discovery audit with us, because then that gives you a whole understanding. Three things, really. First of all, what the art of the possible is. What can you do? I'm currently writing that in a book. I'm trying to. I started it last year, gave up, and restarted it again. So we will teach you what the art of the possible is. We've done loads of webinars on this, loads of workshops. So if you go on the Anicca site, there's a load of stuff that you can find. We did AI Gust. So what is the art of the possible? That's the first thing that you would do in a discovery audit. What are your roadblocks? What are the things that stop your business from being inefficient across the whole business, not just in marketing? So that's really important, because if you want to grow the business, it might be a logistics issue or an invoicing issue that's causing you problems. Nothing to do with the marketing at all. And thirdly, a roadmap of what you can implement, prioritized, so you can pick off the easy wins. And that's what I would do first, because then that gives you a plan for the next 12 months, maybe even 18 months. And you can pick off the easy wins for you and put a budget aside to actually start investing in this, so that you can grow your business and take advantage of the opportunities, because AI will improve your productivity, your profit, and your customer experience. And if you can do that, you're going to make a lot more money.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Ann. So I'm going to put all of these links into the show notes. And yeah, blown away by the content in this podcast. Thank you very, very much for your time, Ann.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Emma. I'm really pleased, and I wish you lots and lots of success with your new series, and congratulations from getting it off the ground. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Ann. Bye.